Welcome to Therapy in the Great Outdoors, the podcast where we explore the business and practice of nature-based pediatric therapy of all kinds. If you're an outdoor-loving pediatric practitioner in the fields of occupational, physical, or speech therapy, social work, or mental health, this podcast will help you start and grow a successful nature-based practice or program. I am the ever honest, always 100% real, you'll hear it all on this podcast, Dr. Laura Park Figueroa. I'm a pediatric OT with over 20 years of experience, and I run a thriving nature-based practice with profitable locations in 2 different states and multi-six figures in revenue. I also host the free online community at therapyinthegreatoutdoors.com to help you pursue your nature-based therapy dreams too. Are you ready to take action on those dreams? Let's jump in. Welcome back, everyone, to Therapy in the Great Outdoors. Today, Kristin Park is back. If you did not listen to the last episode, go back and listen to it. Kristin is the owner of the Magic Speech Bus. It is a mobile hybrid outdoor / inside a van speech therapy practice. I was going to say clinic, but that's not a good word to use for what you do, Kristin. So go back and listen to that last episode because Kristin shared all about how she started her practice and all about how she outfitted the bus and all about her nature-based work as a speech therapist. Today, we are going to do a business coaching call, so a live business coaching call to talk about her business conundrums. All of us have conundrums in our businesses. And it really helps to get coaching and problem solve with someone else who has been through the experience of running a nature-based business like I have. So welcome, Kristin. Thank you for being willing to do this and be vulnerable and share about your business.
Sure. I'm happy to be back.
Yay. Okay. So the first question I generally start off these kind of live coaching calls with is, what do you envision, like in your dream world, what would you envision your business being like in 6 months to a year?
Okay. In 6 months to a year from now, I would like my schedule to be full. I think pretty much every practice owner can say that. That's the goal. So for me, that looks like between 16 to 20 individual sessions. I do one-on-one speech therapy sessions in my practice.
Okay.
And I'm shooting for about 4 or 5 of them a day, 4 days a week. So that's the technical goal. And then the other goal for myself is to make it into a true lifestyle practice for me, where it's running smoothly, it's running almost automatically in any way that it can, so that I'm not getting bogged down in keeping the business running. And I want to be able to take a day off here or there and not feel guilty or feel like I am going to take a big hit financially or just have so much to do when I come back. So
yeah,
that's my goal for myself and the business in 6 to 12 months.
Okay. Do you envision hiring anyone? Are you at that point right now?
So initially when I started, it was not an option, or it wasn't something I was interested in. Nope, it's just going to be me forever. I'm going to do this business all by myself. But as I've been taking more business courses and listening to more advice, hiring is sounding more and more appealing, just because I want that ability to just step back and take a breather every now and then and not have to worry about what the business is or isn't doing on any one single day. Having an employee, or I don't know if it would be an admin first or a therapist first. That's where I'm stuck. Like, how do I plan for that?
Yeah.
And my thought going into this call was potentially hiring long-term goal in about 2 years from now.
Oh, wow. So, okay.
Yeah, I know it's far out, but that's maybe I'm giving myself too much time for that. But yeah.
I'm not saying, you are. I'm just agreeing. Yeah, you're reflecting. So the reason I asked that question about, have you thought about, are you at a place where you want to hire, is because unless unless you're there, unless your brain is there and you're ready to hire and grow the business beyond yourself, if the business is just yourself, you are always going to be the one that has to bring in the money, right? And the only way to grow a business is to hire other people to then work in the business with you to free up some of your time. And so I think you're at least right in thinking that way. I think you can hire way before 2 years from now. Absolutely. My question also is, okay, I have a couple of questions based. I took a few notes while you were describing things. So you're saying in 6 to 12 months, you want your schedule to be full. So your schedule has to be full before you hire someone for
Yes.
sure. So where are we at right now with your schedule? So you said 16 to 20 individual sessions would be a full-time schedule for you,
hmm
which I think, honestly, that's the other question I had. Sorry, I asked a question and now I'm asking another one. I
That's
think that's
okay.
really low for a full-time employee. Okay, so
Yes.
I think it's important for you to remember that you might be limited at 16 to 20 because your brain is having to do all the work of running the business as well. But for a full, if just thinking way in the future, you might not hire a full-time person right now or within 2 years, but really thinking about what is the essentially income potential and the revenue potential of someone working full time in your business. I wouldn't say that 16 to 20 hours a week is a full-time schedule for a employee, even though it might be for you as the business owner. So just keep that in mind because obviously you're going to feel the weight of everything else in the business. Okay. Does that
Mhm.
resonate or make sense?
It does. I'm writing it down right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Like just making sure that it's okay to ask an employee to do a little more per week than that. So where are you at now? How many kids do you have right now?
So I have a few that I'm seeing every other week. So it depends. But on the average week, I'm looking at my schedule right now. I am seeing about 13
Oh, you're so
sessions.
close.
Yes.
You're so close. Okay.
Yes. Now sometimes it's maybe 11, 12, sometimes it's 13, 14, but about 13 sessions a week.
Yeah. Now, you
hmm
had mentioned on the little form that you sent me before this call when I asked you what you wanted to talk about, like really nailing down your ideal client. So this is
hmm
something, this is really funny because I'm a big fan. I believe that coaches should have coaches. Like if you're not like leveling up your own skills, how are you going to help the people that you are supposed to be helping in your business, in your coaching business? So I just started a coaching program, and my first call with the coach was like, she was like, you got to really nail down that ideal client. I'm like, oh my gosh, are we going back to this again? Just like I thought I had done this work before. But it's reminding me of how important it is to really focus on like the actual needs and desires of your ideal customers. So do you think it would be good to explore that a bit, to think about how could we identify you really only need 3 more people to get in your range, right, of your
Yes.
number. Who are the ideal clients that you have? Who are the ones you really love working with?
I find the sessions that I'm enjoying the most are my preschool age kiddos.
Okay.
So my practice, it's advertised as promoted as being just pediatric in general. I said ideally ages 0 to 12, but I'm really finding a sweet spot here with my 3, 4, 5 year olds who have some like articulation
Mhm.
disorders. They have certain sounds. They're just a little bit hard to understand. Parents are getting frustrated, the kids getting frustrated. And maybe their pediatrician told them, oh, just give it 6 more months, just give it another
Yeah.
year. And the parents are like, nah, I want to do something now. Uh, those are, I think, the ones that I'm really enjoying because I know what to do with all of my clients. But with those, I get them and I'm on the phone talking to them and I said, I know exactly what to do with you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
bring them in. Let me see them. So those, I think that's my target audience. But then, and I've seen this too with finding your ideal client is describe them. Where do they live? What do they do?
Sure.
And that's where I get stuck because I don't know. I'm just not generating enough ideas in my head beyond they live near me and they have a 3 to 5 year old.
Right. Would you consider niching your practice to be that age level?
Hmm. I'm I don't know. I never thought about it, but just when you brought that up, that I immediately just felt like nervous about doing that.
Why?
Um,
Why do you feel nervous, do you think?
it just feels limited. I'm just going to push away those others who might not be right in that group.
Mhm. But
But
that's exactly what you want in a
yeah.
niche in your business, right? So that's
Hmm.
the key, is that like the ideal client should be magnetically attracted to you, and the client who it's not for knows that it's not for them, right? I'm not saying you should niche to this age level. I just think it's a really interesting hearing you talk about it. It just I in my brain was thinking, how great would it be if every client that you work with could be the ones that you feel like that about? Like, I just know what to do. Like, this is my jam. I am totally in this. Like, maybe you'd get sick of it and you want the variety. I don't know. But thinking about like your ideal client, like whoever you are talking to on your website and in your marketing, it should repel some people. It should be like, no, this is not for me. So I think it's okay to think about niching it and using some of the language. I even, as you were talking, I was like, she should go back and listen to this recording because that was good. What you were saying was some good language for your marketing promotions. Like I think you said something like they're getting frustrated, their kid is getting frustrated. The
Mhm.
pediatrician told them just wait 6 more months.
Yeah,
Those kind of things can go on your marketing. Do you worry that you wouldn't have enough clients? Is that kind of
I think so.
yeah.
And I know we talked in the previous interview about imposter syndrome and doubting yourself and things like
Yeah.
that. So I feel like maybe I just get in my own head too much,
Mm.
where I feel like I'm already asking too much of the potential client. Like it's a bus, which is different, and it's
Right.
nature based, which is another difference. And now you don't have to be, but it's like now I'm targeting just a very specific portion of my speech and language field. Yes, I'm a speech language pathologist, but now I'm only working with articulation disorders. So
Yeah.
I feel like it's like you lose somebody at step one, you lose somebody at step two, and then, which I know you're saying is a good thing because then you get those people that you really want to work with.
Mhm.
But then that nervousness of how many kids are there in my area that are like that?
It's legitimate to do some market research, I think, to make sure that your niche isn't too small.
Right.
But the other thought I had too was if you're working in a bus, like that age kid is smaller, like physically they are smaller. And so it makes sense, right? That like your practice would be for younger kids. Once you get you and a 12-year-old and a parent inside of the bus, it probably feels pretty full in there, I'm thinking. So I don't know. That's just a logistical thing. But I think thinking about your ideal client and drafting your marketing. I haven't audited or looked at your website, so I don't know what your marketing looks like on your website,
Mhm.
but that's what is going to attract customers to you is having language that like clearly shows who you're not for and who you are for.
Yes. And I did put on my website, the top of the fold,
Uh-huh.
I have my name and what I do, well, the business name and what I do in Eastern Berks County, Pennsylvania,
Okay.
the schedule a free call button. And then right after that is where I tried to put some language that would attract what I think is my ideal client. It says, is it hard to find time for your child's therapy? Do your other kids hate sitting in the waiting room? And are you looking for a fun setting your kids will actually want to come to?
Mhm.
So that's what it says right now. So I feel like that's like targeting this maybe a little bit different parent. To me, that's like a tired mom who has multiple kids
Yeah.
who just wants to send her kids somewhere that they know they're not going to complain about,
Mhm.
which maybe now that I'm reading my website, that sounds a little bit different than what I was saying 5-10
Yeah.
minutes ago. So,
Yeah.
okay.
It is pain points, but I think thinking about the ideal customer and what is their like biggest pain point.
Hmm.
And I know Alex Hormozy, you can love him or hate him. He's like a billionaire guy, but he tells the truth when he tells people about business. And he talks about how to really convince a customer to do business with you, you have to address every single one of their pain points. And so I think that might be a good exercise for you, Kristin, is to do a brain dump, brainstorm list, however you think best, maybe with a pen and paper or on a Google Doc, and just type it out as fast as you can. Like, who is that ideal client, right? If it's the hassled mom who has the 5-year-old who has the articulation disorder, you can write all this out, right? But what are the things that are frustrating for her? What are the things that are pain points that she feels that will convince her, if you can put that language on your website, that will convince her what she's going through, and you have the solution to help, right? So the next part of your website has to talk about how you solve the problem for them. But I do wonder, I think a combo of what you said earlier and what you just shared from the website is probably what you want. Because really what I think about this a lot. I actually just hired Jenny Gill. She did a great job. She's a OT who's a copywriter, to do like an audit of my practice website, because I haven't really paid much attention to it for many years because I was doing my doctorate and I just was like, the practice is fine. We don't need more clients really right now. We're okay. But I want to grow in the next year. And so I had her do this website audit. And one of the things that came up in our call together when we were going through my website and looking at stuff that needed to be reworded or changed, I had this like epiphany moment on our call where I was like, the hard thing about therapy is that you can't really guarantee an outcome. Like, we're not selling a widget that changes in a clear way for people. It's not like you're going to buy this business coaching service that you'll go from $0 to making money in your business. There's like metrics that you can see. In therapy, it's a lot harder. It's nuanced, right? Yes, we see kids make progress on goals, but it's nuanced. And my epiphany on this call with Jenny when we were talking was, parents actually just want to know that they're doing everything they possibly can do for their child. Like, it's the outcome we sell is not like your child's going to be perfect and have perfect speech and language or have perfect sensory integration if you're an OT or whatever. It's really that we're partnering with families to help them feel confident that they are doing everything they possibly can to support their child with whatever challenge they have. And so I think that language is really important, of helping families feel like when they come to you, they will be confident knowing that they are doing everything they possibly can to solve all these pain points, which you have outlined so beautifully on the top of your website, right? I don't know if
I'm going to listen to that again because that was good. I like the talk about the confidence and helping the family feel like they're doing what they can.
yeah. Yeah. Cause we can't offer like it's hard because like anytime in sales, you want to be able to offer a guarantee, right? We'll guarantee that in therapy, I think a lot about how in our practices, we just can't, there's too many variables, right? We can't control like what happens to the child all day at school or in the home all 24/7 with a family that may be a little bit chaotic, or who knows, like what's going on in a child's life. There's so many variables, and we're just one therapist working with this family. And so I think using that in our marketing, like just helping parents feel confident, like they can feel at peace in their soul that they are supporting their child the best they can. We went down a rabbit hole. I feel like, where are you? So let's focus on the getting you. I think you can do the ideal client pain points, make sure those are listed on your website, like figure out what the pain points are. If people who are that person, interview them and ask them. Use the language that they use, right, on your website. But I do think, just to get those 3 more clients, what have you tried to get a few more clients? I guess I should ask that first before I start diving into, here's what I think.
Yes. So the majority of my current clients, I believe, were just, Google searches, Facebook groups,
Okay.
word of mouth. I did do a couple screenings at local preschools over the last month or two, and I've gotten a few leads from that
Okay.
of children who would qualify for an evaluation and then treatment with speech therapy.
Yep.
I haven't officially gotten any of them to schedule that evaluation, but there's a couple email talks going back and forth.
Okay.
So that's a little pain point for me because
Yeah.
it's just hard when you have somebody who's so close and they would be a great candidate and they just aren't committing to that just
Yeah.
yet. So
Have you given them a deadline?
no, that is something
Yeah.
I regret.
You can still do it though, right? Like you can still
hmm
do it. Because I think deadlines drive decision making. And even if something's a pain point, our customers still need us to help them to make the decision and sign on the dotted line and commit to doing it, right?
hmm
I think emailing those 3 people that you have these communication going on with, that they'd be ideal candidates, a a very brief email just saying, "My wait list is growing. If I don't hear back from you by Friday to confirm a spot, I'm going to," you can word it nicer than this, maybe I'm being pretty direct, but then I'm gonna move to the next person on the wait list, and you can reach out again, or I'll reach out in 6 months, or I don't know, whatever you wanna, however you want to structure it in your
hmm
system. And I do think you will want, because those are really warm leads, right? If they've shown interest and they've gone back and forth with you on email, you wanna have some way that you're tracking those. So whether that's a Trello board where you just put people's names like January, February, March, April, you have lists of people that you talk to in those months, whether that's like tagging them somehow in your email and going back in to look. I don't know how you want to organize it. It could just be an Excel spreadsheet and you just keep people's names on with notes about when you last talked to them, but some way that you can circle back to them and check in a thoughtful way. I think that actually builds good know and trust value for your business. And that even if they didn't become a client, maybe if you reach out in 3 months and just say, "Hey, I'm just checking in. Wanted to make sure you got so and so the help that he needed. I'm
hmm
here if you need me. Hit reply and we can talk about how to get you started if you're interested." Like very friendly and just, "Hey, I'm just checking in on you to make sure you got the support you needed." Having some sort of way that you can cycle back to people, I think is important too, because you never know when things might have gotten a little bit worse. But normally I say people won't remember the name of your business or whatever, but with your business, it's a little different. You have a rainbow bus. It's
Right.
memorable. So
Yes.
I don't think people are going to forget you, but I do think life gets in the way and they don't make decisions unless we give
Right.
them a
It's just
deadline.
that thing like, oh, yeah, I should get to that. I should get to that.
Yep.
And then, like you said, you just shoot that little email. I do, as you were explaining that, you were using wording that was more about them, more about the client than it was about me. Like not saying, like, hey, I still have openings
Yeah.
or my wait list is, you know, not full or but you were saying, hey, you just want to make sure you're getting the support that you need.
Yeah.
So that's that
I didn't
definitely
even notice that about
yeah.
what you said, but yeah, that was something too that Jenny and I talked about on my website a lot of times. I think our line on the main page was like, "Expert outdoor occupational therapy to help kids grow more coordinated, confident, and connected to self, others, and nature." Okay, so that was like our tagline. And she was like, "You need to change that to your child." Instead of to help kids, it's like when someone lands on that page to help your child. So it's speaking to you. And so a lot of times when we went through the copy on my website, she was like, "Change that to you, change that to your child," instead of just like kids in general or children in
hmm
general. So it's very important to remember they are not concerned about you. They are concerned about themselves, right?
Yes.
But it is okay to say, I do think you could say in that email to them, my I have 3 more spots left in my weekly schedule before my schedule is full, and I will be starting a wait list. If you want one of these last 3 spots, please email me by Friday. Or just a very kind of direct, that's not lying. When you hit 16 kids, you're gonna be nearing towards full, and maybe you might find that 16 is plenty while you're also running the other aspects of the
Everything
business.
else. Yeah.
So 16 is a lot to manage, the communication, the documentation, all of that. A full-time case, I don't know if this will help you, and maybe this will transition us into talking about hiring, but in my practice, a full-time caseload for an OT seems to be around 30 kids per
hmm
week. But that is also in delivering mostly in groups. So it's
Mhm.
not as much time in person. 30 might be way too much if the full-time therapist was doing individual sessions, because that might be just a lot of time to be doing hour-long sessions outdoors with kids, right? It's great that you have a caseload that you can document how much time it's taking you to do everything. And then when you hire someone, you can work together to figure out what that reasonable number is for productivity, right? For you do need to make sure that the person is like making enough money for you to justify paying them, like, and
Right.
making and keeping some money in the business too. But okay, sending the emails to those couple of people and giving them deadlines, I think is really important. And even putting that on your website, putting a deadline on your website saying, my caseload will be full in 3 more clients. Click here to book an inquiry call or whatever. Oh, that's the other question I had. Do you have an email list? Are you capturing leads that come into your website?
I was actually working on that this morning. I do
Okay.
have several website subscribers, and everyone that signed up for a preschool screening is listed in a separate category of emails.
Okay.
So I have been I've sent out like 2 follow-up emails to just all of those families in general,
Okay.
just explaining things you can work on at home for speech and language. And then I followed up saying, here are the steps to getting started with the Magic Speech Bus. Um,
Mhm.
and that's in addition to those little ongoing personal communications with those
Yeah.
interested families. Um, but a lot of the people that are subscribed to my website are other speech therapists and therapists in general who like the Magic Speech Bus.
Yeah. Yeah.
and
You're
and I'm not 100% sure who's a potential
totally.
client and who's a speech therapist.
Yeah, you're gonna have the problem I had when I first started, which was I had a lot of therapists reaching out to me and joining the email list or emailing me directly to say, like, "How did you start this practice? Can I talk to you about how you started?" And I did a lot of those for free, and eventually I was like, "I can't do this for free anymore. I'm gonna start charging."
Mhm.
That's how my business coaching practice started, essentially. It was just sharing what was working for me. So I think you're going to have to what I would really encourage you to do, it sounds like maybe you don't have this quite set up on your website, and Bedrocks will walk you through this. So we didn't even talk about this, but Kristin is in the Business Hive, which is my business coaching program. And this call is free though. I always say this, like these live calls are not paid, everyone. They're just for free to help everybody else too, for people who are willing to come on and get some coaching and share with the communities. But it is inside the Business Bedrocks curriculum, like lead generation and email marketing setup. What you're probably going to want to need on what you are probably going to need on your website is a list for therapists to join and a list for families to join, because it's fine if therapists want to join your parent list, but you're not going to be sharing stuff about how you started the bus on that list, or
Right.
because you could build a consulting practice alongside. You could be offering that as a service on your, and I think you do, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you're going to want 2 separate email lists, and you want some way when people land on your website, because when people land on your website, like 2% of them maybe are ready to sign up for speech therapy. How many people do you think probably land on your website that are like, my kid maybe needs this, I'm not really sure. But then maybe if you don't capture their email while they're there so that you can get in touch with them, they go somewhere else. And again, your practice is very memorable. They probably would be able to find you again, but it's important that you have their contact info,
Mhm.
because if you're going to hire in the future, you have to know that there are a large number of people that you can immediately get in touch with who are interested in your services enough to give you an email.
Right.
So, have you done that module yet in the Bedrocks curriculum?
No,
Okay.
I think
Okay.
all the marketing stuff starts like
Yeah.
like now, so
Yeah, we're just starting the marketing piece. So it's probably in 2 more modules. You have access to it now if you wanna. I don't know if people are, like, working
Yes.
ahead, or we're not, like, strict about what we're doing which week. I don't, like, do the drip modules anymore or anything like that, where you don't have access. But what you want is it's called a lead magnet. Have you heard of a lead magnet before? Yeah.
Mhm.
So something that's of value to families. So maybe it's these are the top 3. I'm not a speech therapist, so this will be hard for me, but these are the top 3 most difficult sounds for 3 to 5-year-olds, and here's 5 ways you can work on each one, or at home, or whatever it may be. And just a very simple kind of a tip that will give parents a quick win, right? And you're basically going to put that on your website as, if you give me your email, you get this free thing. That's why it's called a lead magnet, because it magnetizes the leads to give you their email.
Mhm.
They give you their email, and then you have an email list that is housed in like a legit email service provider. So this is different than like having a list of people in Excel who might be interested in your, which is what we all start out with. It's totally fine that you're doing that. But to capture people when they hit your website is very important. It's especially important to grow and to hire later, because that way that you have that group of people that you can get in touch with when you want to get in touch with them, to tell everyone that the deadline is whatever date in order to enroll for whatever program. So I think that'll be a good next step for you to start working on getting that set up. And then you can do the same thing. It's fairly simple to do, but you can do the same thing to have a different list essentially in your email service provider that would be for the therapist, where they could sign up for any communication you want to give them about building the bus and all the cool things. Okay. How is all that feeling?
It's good. I've got some actionable steps that I can start doing like this week, which is good. And it's also reassuring because I feel like I am on the right track.
100%.
Everything. Yes. Everything that you're saying so far just sounds like the next logical step that I need to take, which is good because it's not, oh my gosh, that was totally out of left field and I'm not doing any of that.
Yeah.
Okay, I've heard these things before. Yes, and I am at that point in the business where I need to be really focusing on those.
Yep.
It's good. And then that just makes me think about hiring in the future.
Yep.
Because you were mentioning like making sure that I'm full client-wise before hiring somebody else.
Yep.
And can I share some of the questions or thoughts that I've had?
Of course. Yes, please.
Okay.
Let's dive into it.
Okay. I've seen other solo therapists hire online, and they tend to hire VAs or admin sometimes first before hiring other therapists. But I'm wondering if that is a smart move to do, or if it would be better to just get a more revenue generating employee first, give them some of my caseload so that I can continue to do the administrative things and then go from there. Maybe I was curious to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think I'm so torn because the way I did it seemed to have worked. And I'll tell you what I did, but I also think that you could do it a different way and it might work out as well. So we'll focus on what you might want to do. Okay. So I'll tell you what worked for me. So I hired, at the time we called her a virtual assistant, and then it was like online business manager, and then it was like practice manager, and now she's like executive assistant and financial manager. She is like, has been in the business for like 8 years with me and basically co-runs the business with me because she's grown in that role and shown her value. The initial hire was strictly administrative kind of stuff that I wanted to offload. The way to start that is to just start making a list of things that someone else could do that don't require your speech therapy brain. Okay. So all the things that you're doing, even if you like doing them, make a list if they're things that are admin that you could hand off to an admin, and then you'll know how many hours you might have in order to be able to hire for an admin assistant role. There is, just FYI, inside the resources in the Hive, there's an application for a template, a Google form template for an application for an administrative assistant. So you don't have to like reinvent the wheel. You can just make a copy of that form and change the questions as you want based on, I've hired several over the years for various different things in the business. So I started with admin first, but I pretty quickly hired employees after I hired her. I think that the logical thinking is that if you want to do more direct treatment, if that's just really your jam and you love it and you want to do more direct treatment in the business, then yes, you should hire an admin first, because that will obviously free up more of your time eventually. You have to train them and you have to get in a flow of things, right? But
Mhm.
it will free up more time for you to see more kids in the practice. However, if you love running the business and you really are like the entrepreneurs, this is how I am. Like, I love the entrepreneurship stuff. Like, I love being in the woods with kids, but I am just a business. I love business. I love thinking about the business. I love creating systems around the business. I love thinking about solving problems in the business. So even though I hired an admin first, like, it might have been better for me to hire an employee first and keep doing some of the admin stuff on the back end, because I really love that kind of work. And hindsight is always 2020. But what kind of person, I guess that brings up the question of, who do you think you are as a business owner? And I want you to be free to say either one. Like, it's okay to be a speech therapist and actually love being an entrepreneur and running the business too. Okay. So freedom to be
Yes.
honest about your opinions on this one. So what do you think?
Okay, good. Because I am feeling a little bit more towards that side as I'm getting more into business ownership and the entrepreneur, you know, part of all of this.
Mhm.
That is really exciting. And I'm
Yeah.
really enjoying all of it and making all of the pieces come together and just working on the business is really exciting.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
obviously, I love being a speech therapist. I've been doing that for forever and
Yeah.
I'm very comfortable with it. And it's something I know how to do very well. But I think the novelty and the ability to be so creative with the business is what's
Yes.
really, really exciting to me. As we were talking admin versus therapist, I think in my head, I was already thinking hiring therapist
Mm.
because I would still in the future love to just have some of those few like not that we have favorites, but my favorite clients, keep some of those more like those specialty ones, maybe those
Yeah.
3 to 5 year olds. Those are like give them to me, but then still have another therapist who's seeing all of the other cases.
Yes.
Um,
Okay, I want you to remember this moment, okay, for when you hire someone, because what you said was, maybe I keep the clients that I really love to work with. I did the opposite when I hired.
oh no.
I kept the group that was very challenging and gave everyone else like you said, we say we don't have favorites, but there are easier and there are harder groups to run. Let's just be real here, okay, when
Mhm.
you do nature-based therapy. And so I did not do that. And I wouldn't say I resented it, because I did enjoy those kids, but I think it's good for you as the business owner to remember that you started this business. You get to say what kids are yours, and you get to say, as if an employee comes to work for you, you get to say the clients that they need to see. And that's okay. That's okay. If they want to start a business and they want to take the risk and they want to invest a lot of money like you have in creating a beautiful van that is this hybrid amazing model for outdoor and indoor, but with access to the outdoors through the van
Yes.
door model, really, if they want to do that, then bless and release, go on and do it. But you as the business owner get to say what your caseload is, say what their caseload is, and that you should really be able to do that, that you should really be able to keep some of the kids. It should be a benefit of owning the business. And I think a lot of times as therapists, we are martyrs and we give away. We don't want to
Mhm.
make anyone uncomfortable, and you have to get a little bit uncomfortable with making other people uncomfortable and having like standard operating procedures in the business, so that every employee is they see you as fair and that you're managing in a fair way. That's really important. Okay, leaning towards hiring a therapist then.
It gets tricky
Okay, tell me why you think that.
because I have one bus.
Yeah, I thought this
So,
actually. I was like, will someone else drive the bus? What will happen? This is
right.
interesting.
So somebody else can drive the bus. I can certainly add them to the liability and
Mhm.
insurance and things like that. But I think it's just a logistics issue of the bus is parked at my house. They have to come get it. How does that work? Do I meet them at the park with the bus and they do the therapy while I'm doing administrative things? somewhere in the park. I don't know. So those are just some of the questions that are just swirling right now. And I haven't sat down and thought about them until this coaching call because I knew
Yeah.
we were going to be on this coaching call. So
It does lend it is a good thought experiment to have, I think, right now before you grow, because you always need to be thinking about scale in your business. Like, will this scale? Will this actually be able to be multiplied and replicated in order for the business to grow? Right. And as cool as the van is, it is a limiting factor. As far as once you get 2 or 3 therapists, you might need to get another van. And then
mhm,
are you going to have a fleet of vans? Maybe you do, like
right.
maybe that's how you figure it out. And you'll figure that out when you come to it. I have no doubt. You are a very keen entrepreneur brain, I can tell. But with one person, does the van have to be there? I know it
Right.
is your brand, but does the van have to be there? Could it be that there are some nature-based sessions? Could it be that the employee runs like small groups for socials? I don't know if social is something that work. I know speech therapists do, but I don't know if that's something you do in your practice. But are there other things that would fit under your model, but maybe not require the van to be there every time? Maybe the van comes sometimes, but not always.
I've
I
thought
don't
about
know.
that too. If we're just going true nature-based speech therapy, we don't need the indoor portion as
Yeah.
long as it's safe outside. Yes. So I have thought about that. But yeah, then I run into the question of what if it's not safe outside, or
Yeah.
for one reason or another, having that indoor option. It's
But
nice,
also,
but it's
yeah, but also how often would that be? I think this is something sometimes as business owners, we can get caught in the what if cycle. And oh
mhm,
my gosh, if we lived like that, we would never hire anyone. What if someone gets pregnant and I don't have anyone to cover them? Happening to 2 people in my practice pregnant right now. Okay. So I'm figuring it out. Like
right.
we're gonna be okay. Or what if something happens and someone gets hurt on the job? Or what if something we get in these, you just gotta be like, okay, I'm gonna cross that bridge when I come to it. I
True.
think maybe right now, though, maybe just doing some intentional journaling and planning, like actually writing out on a calendar, what what would your schedule ideally, what would your schedule look like once you hire this person? What do you think? Like, how many kids would you be seeing if you hired someone?
Once I had an employee who is doing essentially maybe those 16 to 20, maybe more, for all intents and purposes, like a full-time employee. What I could see myself doing as the business owner is maybe 1 or 2 days of sessions, and
Okay.
then 1 or the rest of the week, 2 days or more being that administrative. I keep saying administrative, but it's
I
like
know
the
what you
higher
mean.
level,
Management. Yeah, it's
business
management of the
operations.
business. Yeah,
Yes.
business operations and management. Yeah.
And
Um,
and the marketing and all that fun
yep.
stuff too, because I really do like that part too.
Yeah, oh, you're so good at it.
Oh,
If you guys
thank
I
you.
said this on the last episode, but if you haven't seen her Instagram account, you just need to go. It's so cute. You're
Thank you.
so good at it. Your stories are so on point. Like I just love, it's so fun to see you in my little feed of stories there. What was I going to say? Okay,
So
so
that
you're thinking seeing 2 days a week of kids, 2 days a week that you'd be doing admin stuff, and then 1 day a week off. Like you want to work
mhm,
4 days a week. Okay.
yes, yeah,
Easy solution would be that the person just has the bus on your admin days.
mhm.
That comes to mind right away, right? You didn't need a business coach to tell you that. But it helps. I think it helps to think out loud about these things, be like, "Oh, actually it's really not that big of a problem." Like the person could be doing nature-based work on the days that you are not, or maybe you guys share the van in the same location. Are any of the places that are any of the places big enough for you both to be there, but maybe one of you to be in the woods, one of you to be in the van, or vice versa? It could become a
Oh, for sure.
scheduling kind
Mhm.
of conundrum, but
Yeah, because I was imagining like, okay, let's say we're going to this one park and we both meet there at
yeah.
from 3 o'clock till, I don't know, 8 o'clock. That's when I do like my after school hours.
Huh.
So they could meet me there, and yeah, we could switch off. Like you get the bus for this hour, I get the bus for the next hour. And then the next week it switches again. So every client has an opportunity to have access to the bus if needed. But then there are some weeks where they're just outdoors for the entire session.
Yeah. Yeah, that could
So,
work. And then you both have your supplies there because the supplies can be in the van.
yep.
Yeah, I think that could work. And especially for your first employee, it might not be someone full time even. You might hire someone like 20 hours a week.
Like I was imagining like a school-based therapist who
Yeah.
does their
Yeah.
school hours and then maybe just picks up 1 or 2 nights a week.
Yeah. So something I would say, I'm glad you brought that up because I just right before we got on this call, I had a call with my lead therapist in my practice who's been there for, gosh, I think this is her 6th or 7th year. I've lost track. She's been here a long time. She was one of the first people I hired and she's still here. So she's so great. And we were talking about the difference in the team and in my practice this year versus, and last year maybe versus in previous years, because the people that are working in the business right now, primarily, some of them have other jobs, but primarily like half of them are only working at Outdoor Kids OT. And there's 2 of them that have like other, like how you said, like a school-based job, or they're working in a hospital. Just one of them really wants to come on, but we just need to drum up more. We're trying to drum up more business and like more clients and more groups for her to come on more like half-time or so. So anyway, the vibe on the team is very different when you have people that are committed to your business. Like they're not, their attention isn't divided. It's just we can only do so much as therapists. And when we're working in multiple different practice settings, it can be hard to really give the time you want to the job that is like the smaller, I just work 5 hours a week for them or whatever. So I would really encourage you, if you can, to try to bring people on who are working primarily in your business as their main gig. And you can't control what people do, right? But there's always people who maybe they don't want full-time work. Maybe it is a young mom or something who doesn't want to work full-time and because her kids are young and she wants to be with them, whatever that may be. That's a quintessential typical example, right? But
Yes.
thinking about more hours versus less hours is what I want to encourage you to think about, so that someone can really be a partner with you in growing the practice. Because you will love, if you hire the right person, you will love working with them so much, because they will not just be an employee to you. They will be someone who is supporting you as the business owner in like thinking bigger about what else could you guys do? What other services could you offer? What other programs could you develop? What supports could you develop for families? It'll be like having a partner in the business versus doing it all on your own. That's what I love about having a team. But the wrong hire can also be really challenging. There's actually a previous episode of this podcast called How to Hire Great People. I don't remember what number it is off the top of my head right now. It's early. It was probably in the first 10 or 20 that I did. I'll put it in the show notes if I wish
I'll
I
have to go back.
remembered.
I think I've
Yeah.
listened to every single episode.
Oh, yeah. And if maybe you didn't, because if you're not ready to hire, that's one that's whatever. I'm not going to listen to it. But so there might be some tips in there worth listening to. But the other thing, I know we need to wrap up because we've been going an hour, but the other thing that I really want to encourage you to do, the other mistake I made, was that I paid people too much when they first started, because I did a look on Indeed to figure out what like people made in the Bay Area. And I just I wasn't bringing in enough revenue with each person for how much I was paying them with the addition of taxes. Because in California and the US most states are moving this direction with like contractor versus employee. But specifically in California, if you are like an occupational therapy practice and you hire occupational therapists, they cannot be independent contractors. They have to be employees, because they are providing a service that your business exists to provide for the customer. So an admin person can be a contractor easy, but a therapist that you hire typically and this is the way the IRS is moving to, y'all, and this is a serious thing, because you could be like owing a lot of back taxes if you hire people as contractors and they should have been employees. Generally, as business owners, we're hiring employees. We're telling them who we want them to see, where we want them to go. There's a lot of ways that we control that. If someone's an independent contractor, you would not be able to control them that way. Anyways, when you hire employees, they should not be given in pay anything more than 60%. Really 50 is ideal, but 60% of the revenue that they bring in. So if this therapist is just, let's do easy math. Okay. So 10 clients a week, $100 an hour. I hope you're charging more than $100 an hour. This is just for easy math, people. But like 10 clients a week at $100, that would be $1,000 they're bringing in. So their pay, their total pay, including taxes and any kind of benefits you're giving them or whatever, should not be more than $600. And your business is going to take the $400 and pay your taxes and pay your admin costs and pay all the other things, supplies and all the other things that you need in your business. In therapy practices, it can be pretty tight, right? Like because the employees are expensive in therapy practices, they're skilled employees, right? So that's just a metric that I think is really helpful to keep in mind so that you don't put your business at risk of going under by hiring someone and paying them too much when they start.
Yes, that is helpful. I like having that specific number in mind too. So thank you.
Yeah. And there's also in the Business Hive too, there's a spreadsheet called What Can I Afford to Pay an Employee spreadsheet. And you can plug in numbers. If I pay this person $46 an hour and my tax rate is this, and I have to pay this much on credit card fees and this, and they're going to work this many visits per week, it'll spit out like a number for like how much money they're going to bring in. And then you can take all the expenses in your business and divide them out. And it'll actually, like, on the second page of the spreadsheet, you can just click profit ? At the bottom, and it'll show you whether or not the employee is going to be a profitable hire or will be costing your business money. So that's a really useful thing. There's like a video in there too of how to use it. I made it sound really complicated in this description, but it's pretty simple. It's like plug in the numbers and then you can play with what you can afford to pay them too, because you can say, okay, if we are making this much per visit, how much, if I pay them 46, that goes way over, but maybe 44 could be, you can really play with like, how much is the maximum I can afford to give them? And it's helpful too, because you can show the employee if you want to, you can actually show them that you did actual calculations to determine how much you can afford to pay them. It's not just that you're being like chintzy with the money and you don't want to give them all the money and you're trying to keep the business, make money in your own pocket and all of that. I think the more transparent we can be with our employees about, I really am trying to make sure this business stays profitable. And this is what we can afford to pay based on what we charge right now for our services. So that is a resource too that you may need to make use of when you're getting ready to hire. So
that's perfect. This has been incredibly helpful. I feel like I learned
I'm so glad.
so much.
Okay, so tell me your takeaways. This is what I do at the end of every call. Okay, what are your top I always say, tell me your top 1 to 3. I'll give you 3 if you need them. What are your top 3 things that you feel like you need to get going on now, or takeaways that you had?
Sure. Takeaway number 1 is that I need to continuously take a look at my target audience and not just set it once and say, okay, I've got it, and never come back to it. And that includes refreshing the vocabulary on the website, figuring out who is subscribed and who I want to subscribe, what's going to get them to subscribe to that email list. So I feel like I learned that those emails are where you can really nurture those relationships.
Yep.
And speak directly to those clients who are like hovering on the click button. You know? So that's a takeaway. And I've also learned that deadlines are important for just that extra little nudge. You know, it's okay to let them know that the wait list is filling up, and it's okay to say doors are closing, and it's not sleazy marketing. It's just letting them know that I'm getting full. So if you want to do this, let's do this. And then of course, all the hiring takeaways from today. Maybe shooting for 2 years from now is too far, and maybe I can do it sooner. And if the way you were talking about it today made it seem okay, it's a very logical progression to knowing when you're ready to make that first hire. And it's not something that needs to take 2 years. If my business is full and I'm ready to do it, I need that deadline for myself too. Let's do this.
Yes.
And then just all the ideas of writing it down and doing some journaling and reflecting on what I actually want or need out of an employee and how to get there.
Yeah.
It's a big
Yeah.
takeaway.
So in my mind, I'm like, I wonder, do you think it's a reasonable goal for you to hire someone by the end of the hive next July?
Ooh, maybe. Yeah, I got to commit to it. Yes, I think it's a reasonable goal.
I
I
think
could
it's a
definitely do
reasonable
that.
goal for you, honestly. If you
Mhm.
have 13 clients already, you just need a few more to get full. And that wouldn't need to be a full-time employee. It could be someone, sometimes people want to work part-time and build up. I don't know. Like it doesn't have to be full-time, but I would love to see you do that. I would love to see you hire before we end your cohort in the hive
Mhm.
next summer in July. That's a good 8 months from now. 9 months? 9 months from now.
Yeah,
A
I think
little
that's doable.
a little closer than 2 years, but
I know. I feel like I do that to myself a lot though, where I'm like, I'm gonna do this sometime in the future. And then I sit down and I think about it. And it's actually I could do that a lot sooner than I think I could.
yep. Yep. And
Oh,
at the same time, sometimes things take longer than we think, than we think they're going
that is
to,
true.
right?
Very true.
It's so funny. Tell me a little bit before we go. Tell me what your experience in the hive has been like so far. You
It's
started in
been
July, so we've been in
yes.
3 or 4 months
Mhm.
now, right?
Yes. Yeah, it's been great. I've really enjoyed the pace of the
Mm,
modules. I have it all printed in this big binder that I'm
yep.
going through and checking things off, but I really do like the way that it's organized, starting with the mindsets for a
Hmm.
business and just making sure I feel like that's the bedrock of the bedrocks
Yeah,
is like
totally.
making sure that you are in that entrepreneur mindset and focused on what it is that you want out of this business and why you're doing this business.
Yeah.
And then just recently, we've been really diving into the organization and the systems. And I think all of the resources that you have in the Hive have been
Mm.
phenomenal. Even the like recommended readings that you've dropped here and there have been
Yeah.
great. I've been reading Profit First and I just finished the E Myth.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and it's just, it really, every week, it just rejuvenates my excitement to be a business owner, but
Cool.
it's also giving me those practical things to do too.
Yeah.
I really like it.
Yay. Oh, I'm so glad. Yeah. We do the pace. I think the rhythm of we do 1 week of the Bedrocks curriculum and then 1 week of the open Q&A calls that we do. So I think it has been so helpful for people to have space and time to really dive in to each module and not feel like I used to do it the first time I did the Bedrocks curriculum. It was a 10-week course. It was like, boom. It was too fast. People were like, we could have done this in 6 months, but 10 weeks was, but there were, I mean, great reviews of it, but it was like, yeah, people were like, we're going to meet and revisit. I think a core group from the first and second cohorts that I had ended up like meeting together after the course was over to keep implementing. So it's cool. Anyways, I love having you there. You are totally the type of person that is you're going to do such great things in your business this year, already are. And like next summer, we're going to have you an employee. Yay.
Oh, it's official. It's in the recording.
It's in the recording. Now you cannot back out. That
Yes.
is one thing to do. If you want to hit a goal, say it out loud for some
Hmm.
accountability publicly. That is a
Yeah,
way to do it. So, well,
definitely.
thank you, Kristin. This was so great. And I hope you got some value out of it. And thanks for being so willing to be public about what's going on in your business.
Sure. Absolutely. Thank you again for having me. And it's been a
Yes.
blast.
Okay, bye. Thanks for joining me today for Therapy in the Great Outdoors. If you want valuable advice as you start or grow your nature-based pediatric practice, get my free ebook, The Nature-Based Practice Roadmap. It is a guide to help you focus and avoid costly mistakes as you start or grow your outdoor work with children. In it, I share the 4 stages of nature-based practice, what you need to focus on and common mistakes to avoid in each stage, plus a checklist of specific action steps for you to take at each stage in the process. Get it at therapyinthegreatoutdoors.com/roadmap. So until next time, get outside, connect, reflect, and enjoy therapy in the great outdoors.